This is a domestic violence trigger warning. If it affects you, do not proceed.
But you're keeping the relationships going because of history. I want you to know that no matter what you do, no matter how many ways you show up, how many times you show up, you can give them your last. It's never going to be good enough. You're never going to receive the reciprocation. And the only reason I'm saying that is because at this point, those people in your life that are not reciprocating the energy and the ways that you show up, they feel obligated. They feel obligated to your time, your presence, your energy, the resources that you provide for them. They feel obligated. It's almost as if they feel like they can't lose you. Hey y'all, it's Megan May, and this is Transparency, where we keep it real about our growing pains and all the beautiful moving parts of life that may not be the most glamorous, but shape us into who we are today. So, if you're ready for some introspection and evolution, go ahead and lock in by hitting the subscribe button. And if anything I says resonates with you, you can leave me a comment and or a like so I know we see each other. So today we'll be talking about carrying the burden of other people's problems. And what led me to feel like this was something that I wanted to talk about is because I've realized with myself and then those around me that also are very loving, very giving, have like a very nurturing sense to them. We oftentimes find ourselves in situations where we allow what's going on with those that we love to have an impact on our mood, our feelings, our productivity, and things of that nature. And I feel like this is a very natural response because obviously, like, you want the best for those that you love and care about. You want them to be their best at all times. You want them to have people around them that love them, that care for them. You want them to be making progress towards their goals. You want all the same things that you want for yourself and probably plus more depending on the relationship. But I've noticed that throughout the course of last year, and I could see a pattern of this even in my life in general, that when people that I'm close to are going through trying times, hard times, sometimes I feel for them too deeply to the point where I'm derailed from my own goals because I'm just over consumed in, are they okay? How can I make them feel better? And we've talked a lot about people pleasing and everything related to that, but I do feel like this is, in a sense, some type of like micro related topic to people pleasing because yeah, of course you're going to want the best for those that you love, but at the same time, you can't want something more for somebody than they want for themselves. And if I was to be honest, I've seen myself fall victim to feeling too deeply for those that I love in instances where people were, having ideas about no longer being here. So being suicidal or being in abusive relationships. And those type of things is kind of hard. I feel like you have to walk a really tight rope in how you proceed because let's stick with the topic of domestic violence or domestic abuse in a relationship. Like when you are the person on the outside of that and you love somebody so deeply and you know that they're meant for more, you know that they deserve real, genuine, healthy love, you can't help but to feel like you have to be in their ear all the time, giving them that encouragement to walk away, reminding them just who they are and why they deserve so much better. You can't help but to feel like that's your duty as a friend, as a sister, as whatever role that you play in their life. But at the same time, I feel like if you're not careful, you can become overconsumed in a way where they're not leaving. They're still coming to you because you're still entertaining them. And you're giving them all that you've got. You're giving them all the advice. You're offering your home. You're putting yourself sometimes also in like a dangerous state in a sense. Like, I don't know how to best say that, but pretty much compromising your own safety because let's be real, when people are in domestic relationships, domestic abuse relationships, what is that called? Domestic violence, I think. Domestic violence relationships, when people are in those type of situations, if the person that's supposed to be loving and caring for them is not loving and caring for them, and in fact doing the opposite, what makes you think that you just being like this with that person is going to have you in a safe state? Why would you think that if they were coming after the person that they're with, that they wouldn't come after you as well if you were just in the way? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we do have to be real about things and practical about things. And I also want those of us who find ourselves feeling too deeply and overplaying our part, which that's exactly what I'm gonna get to as after I move on from this scenario in itself. But just the idea of overplaying our part, like you can have your hand out to stretch and say, I'm here to help you, I'm here to guide you, I'm here to be there for you, walk beside you, like whatever you need, you can lean on me. You could do that, but at the same time, I feel like you also have to realize that those people that are in those states of mind where they're just not their best selves. So again, this could be suicidal, this could be in a relationship or in an environment or situation that's just not healthy, that's not productive, that's just, pretty much putting them in a lesser state, whether that's a lesser state of mind, physically a lesser state, they're losing their confidence, whatever. You have to be very careful, because I feel like when you overplay your part, you're allowing yourself to be susceptible to the same effects that that relationship and that mentality that they're holding is having on them. So in the case, going back to the domestic violence, because I feel like that's a little bit easier to speak on than suicide. That's a very touchy subject for me at the moment. So I'm going to just, it's very relevant, and down the line we'll probably talk about it. But right now we're going to stick to domestic violence, because I've been in a situation where I've loved somebody and I've been a great support to them, and it's like you offer yourself so much and you feel so deeply for these people, and to a degree it's like they're very selfish in a way, because they can't really see outside of their own situation. So they're allowing you to be there for them, and they're coming to you with their problems, but they're not really being open to help. They're just telling you, I guess, so that you could be aware, but they're not really open to help. And of course, if you are a victim of domestic violence, or you know somebody who was a victim of domestic violence, and you have like a more in-depth perspective of like what they go through, then of course enlighten me and enlighten the audience of what exactly is the reason behind sharing what's going on, but also not taking the advice and not taking the help that is offered by your people, your tribe, your community, to leave that situation. And I want to say, when I did read about this at a point in time, that I learned that it takes a total of around 7 times for someone to leave their abuser, because at some point it's like a cycle where it's just like this person was their safe space, and so even though they're being abusive, they hurt, they forgive, and then I guess you could call it forgetting. They go back to their abuser, and they have to be ready to leave when they're ready to leave. There's nothing that you could say, there's nothing that you can do, and it's a very slippery slope, because again, you want to be there for that person, but it's just like, how do you offer yourself without losing yourself? And now we're going to segue into just in life in general, because that's just a very drastic idea of overplaying your part. But I want to go to the day-to-day things of how you could be overplaying your part, and how you can exit that era of people pleasing so that you can, focus that energy back into yourself. So some ways that I realized I overplayed my part is just in the ways that I show up. And my father has preached this since I was a little girl, like, don't do anything that you feel like you need to be reciprocated. So don't give money if you feel like you're going to be pressed to get that money back, because even if somebody says they're going to pay you back, the likeliness of them forgetting, quote unquote forgetting, or just never being in a position where they can pay you back, because who knows, maybe they owe a lot of different people and you like last on the list. You never know. But don't push yourself in compromising positions where you feel like if this person isn't able to reciprocate or hold up their end, that the relationship is going to then become null and void. And as I was a younger girl, I guess you could say, as I was younger, I didn't really see exactly like how that was playing out in my life. I wasn't really feeling like, oh, this person doesn't reciprocate, because I'm just young, wild, and free with my friends. I'm thinking like, oh, we're just here to have fun, and I do this, you do this, I do this, you do this. But looking back now, I realized that there has been a pattern of me overplaying my part in a lot of instances, on birthdays, on just any occasions where it's just like my friend might need help and I'm dropping what I have to do, or even in relationships, I'm compromising what I said I'm going to get done to go, be at the beck and call of my partner or whoever. And what I've realized is, a lot of the times, let's say for relationships, you do all of these things to allow somebody to understand and grasp the idea of the fact that you love them, that you care for them, that you're here for them, and all of the things. And it doesn't work out. You can then start forming resentment of like the time, the energy, the resources that you've poured into this person. And I know with women, there's a thing where we often say like, oh, we're not building the next man for the next woman. And I 1,000% agree. Like, I am not with that at all. And this is kind of a tangent, but like, I am a huge advocate of leaving people. And I know that my mom isn't really like very supportive of my mentality as far as that's concerned, because when it comes to like relationships, as far as marriage and things of that nature, you have to learn how to work through your problems. But I feel like we're in a society, and I blame social media obviously, because that's just the age that we live in, where people are shown things that make it seem like, oh, almost as if glorifying the fact that if you play your part, this and this can happen. But nobody really seems to talk about the fact that you can overplay your part. And just like Beyonce said in her song, the first time I said no, it's like I never said yes. So you could do all of this stuff for a person or for people in your life, and the moment that you decide, okay, I'm gonna choose me this time, or the moment that you're real about something and you're like, this just doesn't make sense for me to do, and I know you have somebody else that could do it and I don't have the capacity to do it, or whatever your reasoning is, the moment that you take that stance, a lot of the times I feel like people lack understanding. And it's almost as if you start to see that people feel obligated to your time, obligated to your energy, your presence. And I really don't know exactly why that is, but I really wanted to talk about it, because for those that are the people that's overplaying their part, so you're doing more than what everyone else around you, or not even everyone else around you, but everyone else in that person's life. So because I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place, I'm going to try to make this very concise and digestible to understand. So let's say you have a friend, and your friend, I know I used his name before, so I'm gonna just use it again. Your friend's name is Ashley, and Ashley always have a lot going on, but you love her. Y'all grew up like sisters. You've watched each other through many ebbs and flows in life, and you just always made yourself available for her. But this could be a relationship where you're realizing, okay, Ashley doesn't really reciprocate the energy that I pour into this relationship. It's like she's always in need of something, and I'm always there to provide for that need. But whenever the shoe is on the other foot and I feel like I need a helping hand, or I need a listening ear, or I need a compassionate heart, somebody to empathize with me, like, she's always busy or she doesn't have it. And you see the way that she shows up in her other relationships, and it's almost like she treats everyone else better than she treats you, but you still stick around. And it's one of those instances where it's like you give, hoping that she's going to one day realize and recognize just how much you support her, how much you love her, how much you pour into her, how much you do for her. And She doesn't. So the picture here is pretty much describing a relationship that's one-sided. So for those of you that resonate with this story and you feel like you're Ashley's friend, you're the person that's always giving, always showing up, always providing the ear, always providing the advice, always there when she needs to cry, when she needs to laugh, just always there, always showing up. And you realize, like, when it's time for her to reciprocate, she's nowhere to be found. She's silent. She has no words of encouragement. She has nothing to say. She has nothing to provide you with. And you're keeping the relationship going because of history. Ooh. I had to take a pause because there's so many relationships that just flashed through my mind. But you're keeping the relationships going because of history. I want you to know that no matter what you do, no matter how many ways you show up, how many times you show up, you can give them your last. It's never going to be good enough. You're never going to receive the reciprocation. And the only reason I'm saying that is because at this point, those people in your life that are not reciprocating the energy and the ways that you show up, they feel obligated. They feel obligated to your time, your presence, your energy, the resources that you provide for them. They feel obligated. It's almost as if they feel like they can't lose you. And what I want you to do to test this theory is start saying no. We talked about the power of saying no before. And I'm always going to preach this because I feel like when you start saying no to others and start saying yes to yourself, you realize how many people you could really go through this life without. How many people are sucking you dry and you don't even realize it because you could be just doing this out of love. I'm not saying that things have to be transactional, like you're doing this because you expect this out of a person. That's not at all what I'm saying. But let's be real. What is the point of having a one-sided relationship? If you're always the one that's pouring into the next person and they're never pouring into you, what is the point of that? How, in what way is that serving you? Exactly. So if you find that you resonated with that story, I just want to encourage you to do some deep reflection on, is this somebody that you can genuinely live without? Perhaps at one point in time, this was somebody that you genuinely felt like was a sister, was a brother. And you felt like you could lean on them. You guys did share that intimacy where you were telling each other your deepest and darkest secrets. And they were of a help to you or a resource to you in life. And they come to you with their problems, but they're there when you have your own. Like, maybe that was the case at a time. But where are you guys at now? And this is something that I've been doing, and I've talked to one of my best friends about this numerous times, and it's a hard process. I'm not going to lie, because again, history. Like, we oftentimes try to hold on to memories of the times that were good, and even in the relationships that I know of that were having domestic violence, I really feel like there's another term for that. But you know, I'm just gonna relate it back to that extreme, because I feel like, yeah, in the instances where people who were domestic violence victims have shared with me why it took them so long to leave, or why it was so hard for them to leave, they shared like they just know that this person is a good person because they've seen the good sides of this person. But okay, cool, maybe they have good characteristics. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily a good person. And this can relate back to friendships, relationships, whatever, as well, because you're not having to label this person as a good or bad person. You don't have to do all that. But you do have to be real about, where is the standing of the relationship at right now? Why are you continuously pouring all that you have into this when it's not being reciprocated? What is the reason behind that? And you have to do some digging. Perhaps you have to also seek into gathering information about your attachment style, and that's something we'll talk about on a different episode. But yes, you have to find the answers, because you're not going to find the answers by asking the person up front, like, why am I doing X, Y, and Z, and anytime I need you to show up for me in these ways, you can't do it? You know, they're going to sit here and act oblivious to what you're talking about, probably gaslight you and make it seem like, oh, well, I did X, Y, and Z and such. Like, just sit here and downplay everything that you're saying for the sake of their argument, instead of showing you a sense of understanding. Like, you know what, I didn't even realize I was doing all of this. I didn't realize that the relationship that we have was no longer mutually beneficial. I didn't realize that I was hurting you in this way. I didn't realize, you know, some people are going to be honest about their shortcomings and the ways that they lacked empathy, and the ways that they lacked just showing up for you in the ways that you need. And a lot of times too, in relationships, when I say mutually beneficial, it doesn't have to be that, oh, you're, you know, let's say for example, your friend don't have a car, so every time you're going grocery shopping, you're hitting them up like, hey, I'm going to the store, you want to ride, you want to go ahead and grab you some groceries while I'm at the store? And they're like, yeah, cool. Obviously they don't have a car, so they're never going to be able to hit you up and be like, hey, I'm going to the store, do you want to ride? Like, that's not what mutually beneficial is. But the same way that you're looking out for them, they can find ways to look out for you. So perhaps it's something as simple as, let's say you have relationship problems and they've been in a healthy relationship now for the past 4 years. Of course, there's no relationship that doesn't have conflict. So you go to them and you're saying, hey, you know, like, me and such been having an issue with blah, say blah. And I know that you and your partner had a similar issue in the past. I just want some advice on how you feel like I should go about this. Something of that nature. Like, that's something that would be considered mutually beneficial. You're just pretty much offering yourself in ways that's going to aid your friend or your partner or whoever in your life. You're offering yourself in the ways that you can and expecting them to do the same. Not tit for tat, like, oh, I did this, so you need to do the exact same thing. That's not a healthy dynamic. That's not a healthy relationship, and that's not what I'm encouraging at all. But yeah, I just want everyone watching, listening, to do an audit. You know, we talk about audits all the time. I haven't talked about an audit in a while though, but as we're approaching the middle of the year, do an audit of the relationships that you have in your life and see if there's any relationships that seem one-sided. Are you always the one reaching out? Are you always the one that's carrying the conversation? Are you always, and these seem like super small things, but let's be real, they do have an effect on the dynamic of a relationship. Because if you feel like, oh, I'm always the one reaching out and this person is no busier than me. Now, there are instances where that's not the case, and sometimes you're the one reaching out because you might just have more free time on your hands. But you have to know your relationship. But you're always the one reaching out. This person don't have no more free time than you. So why is it that they're never reaching out? I mean, a quick text. It don't even have to be a phone call. But just something to let you know, like, I'm thinking about you. I care about you. I hope you're doing well. Something along those lines. If you feel like this person is never making the effort to check in on you, are you going to genuinely feel like they care about you? And it doesn't have to be at the same cadence. Like, oh, if you have a habit of checking in on them, let's say every few weeks, they don't have to reciprocate, you know, every few weeks. But let's say a month and a half or so goes by and then they hit you up. Like, that's going to make you feel good. Like, oh, you know, they do care about how I'm doing and how I'm feeling. And I would say too, like, if we're being honest, I've realized that sometimes when people hit you up out of the blue and they don't really have a habit of checking in on you, but you're normally the one that check in on them, a lot of the times there is an underlying reason. They need something. They want something. So also take that into account when you're doing your audit of your relationships. Like, how much are you pouring into these relationships that you have, and are they really serving you? Are there relationships that you might not need to completely cut out of your life, but you might need to dial back on exactly how much you're pouring into them? Are there relationships where you feel like should have been cut out of your life a long time ago? Are there relationships that you feel like you forgave somebody and you allowed them back into your life, but you should have just forgave them and let them go? Because and this is gonna be my last point because I don't know how long I've been talking, but I feel like I've been talking for a long time. I feel like a lot of times, especially when it comes to boyfriend girlfriend relationships, because for whatever reason it's like girls be so strict with their friends but not as strict with these dudes that they keep giving chance after chance to, and it's so annoying to watch. I don't have that problem in my own circle of friends, but I have had friends in the past that were like that. And it's so annoying to watch because it's like you love your friends, right? And so you're seeing somebody play with them, play with their emotions. You're sitting there being there for them, and they coming to you with the same problems time and time again. Of course, you're giving them the same advice. Leave him. You deserve better. You're better than that. Whatever the case is, you're telling them all that of what they need to hear, and still they're going along with their feelings, their emotions. They're doing whatever they want. As a friend, it's not your place to judge. Of course, like we said, as a friend, you want better though. So you're still providing them the space to come to you, and you know, when they finally have had enough, you're offering yourself to be there to help them on their healing journey or whatever the case may be. But you realize, like, if there was a friend that was betraying their trust or just not being considerate of their feelings or doing something that they dislike, they're not as forgiving. And I don't understand that. But even relationships that's like that, friendships that's like that, if you have some type of friendship that's like that in your life, then assess that as well and see if this is something that you feel like is really serving you. Is it something that's kind of taking you away from what you need to be doing? Because every time you're trying to lock in and focus on something, here go your phone ringing, here go your friend blowing down your line to talk about the same guy that's doing the same shit he been doing, you know, things of that nature. There are situations that I feel like are a little bit harder to just walk out and leave, and some people might disagree, but I feel like when it comes to jobs, almost everybody has some form of complaint about their job. Almost everybody. Some people love their job. Love that for y'all. Do not know what that feel like. Well, I have had jobs that I liked in the past, but currently do not know what that feel like. But yeah, I feel like in those situations with jobs, it is kind of hard to just be like, well, girl, you know, you need to leave, da, 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 da. So if a friend is coming to you and they're venting about their job all the time, that's not something that you should roll your eyes on necessarily and be like, oh, they keep talking to me about this job, but they be mad when I talk about this dude. Like, no, that's not the same. But yeah, not trying to get too far off subject. I just wanted to say, and I just want to wrap up in saying, stop overplaying your part. If you know that relationships are taking more out of you than they're pouring into you, please walk away. Please leave them alone. As we're entering into the summertime, I feel like everybody wants to be outside. Everybody gonna want to have a good time, and you're going to meet new people because you're going to be more social. Everybody want to have fun in the sun, playing around, doing the things. You're going to be more social, but really be practical about the way that you proceed. Be honest about what you're seeing. Don't be deceived by what you think somebody's potential could be in a relationship, especially if this is a relationship that you've already had. If you're seeing signs that somebody is doing something that is detrimental to themselves, that is not your problem. Please, always, out of love, provide them the space to come to you, but also guard your own heart and guard your own mind, and understand that there's only but so much that you can do. You can't feel their pain too deeply to the point where you're derailing from your own plans for your own life. You're not focused, you're not getting things done, you're not allowing yourself to be happy because you're just so consumed in their overall well-being when they're not concerned about that themselves. You can't do that. You also cannot allow yourself to be just used to the point of no return, where you're doing all these things for all these people and you're realizing that nobody, well, I won't even say nobody, but those people that you're doing all of what you're doing for are not there for you when you need them. You cannot continue to live like that. You have to be honest, and you have to walk away, and you have to create boundaries. All of the things that we always talk about, you have to start implementing these things and fortifying them. Once you implement them, you also have to fortify them so that people that come into your life, the new people that come into your life, already know what's up. Like, this is not something that you're going to allow them the leeway of presenting the same signs to you that you've already experienced in the past. That's not what life's about. Once you learn something, you continue to progress in life, and you continue to move through life implementing the things that you've learned. So I love you guys. I appreciate your support, and this whole thing was just based off of me realizing that I still have a lot of work to do, and not allowing outside noise of the lives of the people that I love to really penetrate my mind and my feelings and throw me off course, because I've noticed that that's the thing, and I feel like that's something that other people also have trouble with as well. So I wanted to just provide this insight to you guys and tell you guys that love yourself enough to not allow that to be the case. You know, you can always have so much to pour into people, but pour that same energy into yourself, and realize that the things and the people that are not serving you, or that are very selfish about the way that they approach your relationship, should not have easy access to you, should not be people that you are always going above and beyond for, always doing so much for. And in some cases, they shouldn't have any access to you, and you shouldn't be doing nothing for them at all. Y'all could be cool. That's not to say that you have to have beef or pressure with this person. Y'all could be cool, but realistically, you have to understand that at the end of the day, they're choosing them. They're choosing them. No matter how dire of a situation they might be in, they're choosing them. So choose you. And I'll leave you guys with that. Again, thank you for your support. Thank you for all the encouragement to just keep going with transparency, because sometimes, like today, I just be so out of it, and I'll be like, what am I gonna say? Or sometimes I know what I want to say, but it's like I don't really know how to best articulate it. So thank you for your patience, your support, your kindness, for sharing, for liking, for subscribing. If you like this, then check out other videos on my page, because you'll probably like those as well. And of course, share with whoever you feel this would resonate with. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Toodles.